Our third of four speakers today didn't come from such a long distance, but still, many thanks to Susan Boritz, who would like to talk to us about an event that she attended on Friday night. And Rich Boritz is going to assist in some way, allegedly.
In some way. I was the instigator for this.
Oh, okay.
You go first. So a few weeks ago, I received an email from the Wadsworth Athenaeum inviting me to go to an event this past Friday. And the event was entitled, I Am Seen, Therefore I Am. And it was kind of subtitled, unofficially, The Unfinished Movement for Social Justice. And the exhibit featured the work of Sir Isaac Julien. Have any of you ever heard of him? I didn't either, but he has been knighted for his installational art. And so he is a filmmaker, a three-dimensional artist, and he didn't have all of the information he needed to put this together. So Henry Louis Gates was asked to curate this exhibit, and he also participated in a panel discussion before the exhibit opened. I know that Susan is an avid fan of Finding Your Roots, and I ordered tickets. I got it. I'll hold it. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am. I think it's the most important show on television. It's full of revelations, surprises, and deep truths. We are all related. If only we acted like it. So I wanted to meet him, to hear him, to hear what he had to say in person. And it would have been enough if that was all there was. That would have done it for me, but it was so much more. We discovered Frederick Douglass and what makes his life relevant to us, just as Southbury today. If he were alive today, he'd be all over this. Now, we all learned in high school that Frederick Douglass was an abolitionist. You knew that, right? He was an orator, a publisher, a presidential advisor. Abraham Lincoln trusted and respected him. But what we were taught does not do justice to the scope of his work, to the depth of his commitment to full human rights for all human beings. Frederick Douglass is a visionary who predicted that the social justice movement would still be unfolding 150 years from the time that he lived. And so it is.
So it may seem like a surprise that his exhibit was in an art museum, because people don't know his other talents. Frederick Douglass understood the power of the image, of photography just coming out. He knew that in order to change people's distorted perceptions of others, we have to see people as they truly are. So he saw the potential of that infant art form that we call the cell phone now. And he knew that that image of the enslaved could do what painters and sculptors had done for royalty and people of wealth. It could depict them as they wanted to be seen. Well, this is a surprising fact. Do you know who the most photographed person, American, is in the 19th century? It's not Abraham Lincoln. It's not Thomas Edison. It's not Harriet Beecher Stowe. It's not Clara Barton. It is Frederick Douglass. And there is not one image of him where he is smiling. Why is that? He wanted his image to show a man of dignity, a human being, in contrast to the caricatures, the depictions that black people were typically shown in newspapers and in the media at that time. He also felt that every black family needed to place a portrait of themselves on their mantle to show that they were no different than other families, despite the destruction that the families of black people endured through enslavement. Now you're on.
So, Frederick Douglass's personal biography was remarkable. Some of you might know this. He was born into slavery in February of 1818. He had only a handful of meetings with his mother. His father was a white man, possibly the master or one of his sons. He had no formal education, and he escaped from slavery in his early 20s and moved up north to begin his advocacy. He gave speeches and published newsletters about the evils of slavery all over the United States. In 1845, at the beginning of the Irish potato famine, he went to England and Ireland to advocate for social justice. He was 27. There he met Daniel O'Connell, an internationally known abolitionist whose political activity resulted in Great Britain outlawing slavery in all the British colonies. There's a statue of Frederick Douglass in Ireland. That was 20 years before the Civil War. After the exhibit, I ordered a book about Frederick Douglass on Audible by a guy by the name of David W. Bright. And that book, I think I'm right, was published in 2018. So, still relevant. It won him a Pulitzer Prize. It's called Frederick Douglass, Prophet of Freedom. I've only listened to 3 chapters out of 33. I've got a lot more to go. I want to conclude with one of the stories in the book from his early years. One of the stories from the book in his early years. When Frederick Douglass was about 11 years old, Fred convinced Sophia, the wife of the slave master, to teach him how to read. Where is it now?
So here.
Yeah. So when her husband found out about it, he insisted that she stop because learning would be no good for him and it would cause him much harm. Fred overheard that conversation. He then understood 2 things. One is the power of words, and the other was the realization that whatever it was the master was preventing you from doing was his way of keeping you down. How woke was he?
So now fast forward those 150 years to today. In the state of Florida, woke goes to die. The governor is attempting to prevent teachers from teaching about race, prevent librarians from having books about race. The same governor championed Don't Say Gay. He signed into law a bill that prevents women from obtaining abortion after 6 weeks of pregnancy. The question is, what other rights will he choose to take away? How else will he try to deprive certain people, especially the people of Florida, with their full rights, their full humanity? If Frederick Douglass were alive today, we're sure he would be protesting these injustices and remind us what he had figured out at the age of 11, that when someone tries to prevent you from being seen or heard, we need to recognize that it is done to serve their own purposes, and that resisting is something that is worthwhile. Thank you.
The exhibit is in the Athenaeum, Wadsworth Athenaeum of Art.
In Hartford.
In Hartford, and it's there until September 19th.
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 Woo! Right.